Hi everyone, Brian from Bearable Traders here. It's the weekend. Then this is the weekend video, of course, July 30th, and we've got the second quarter in the books, and it was a pretty good week overall. So we'll take a look at what happened last week, and then we'll look ahead as we're into the middle of earnings season and more earnings to come. All right, well, let's start out and take a look at the week that just passed. We had a really strong move over the week. Put in a pretty strong second quarter. Tech earnings generally, we had some big tech earning reports this week, Amazon, Apple, and a few others that I think they did better than many people had feared, and so we got a pretty positive reaction. The Fed predictably did raise the interest rates 0.75, but Powell did sort of come out with some sort of dovish comments that he thought maybe the end was in sight, and but still obviously watching the indicators, which are still looking pretty inflationary. But anyway, that pretty much lit a fire under the markets, these things this week, and you can see here Dow up almost 3%, and all the other indexes up over 4%. So really a strong week to end out the second quarter. There wasn't anything really down on the week. Communication services probably partly made up by Facebook. It was down, which dragged that sector down a bit. Staples, which is the sort of utility or the safety trade, again up, but smallest gains on the week. The biggest gains this week, energy, utilities, which is a safety trade, industrials, and even some consumer discretionaries were up there in the strongest gainers. So certainly a risk-on week. The treasuries dropped again this week, both the 2-year and the 10-year. So again, kind of bond market pricing in maybe a possibility of a coming recession. Still got that yield curve inverted where the 10s are yielding lower than the 2-year. US dollar dropped again. It wasn't down by much, but still trending a little bit lower. But generally, in the overall scheme of things, it is still in an uptrend, but just barely. Bitcoin, again, just risk on, risk off. Last week was a risk on trade, so Bitcoin really took off here and well above that sort of 22,000 level that it's been struggling with to get through. And before we get into looking at some charts, this is the quick ad for my book on Amazon, How to Profiting as an Active Trader. I always talk about my old book, How to Swing Trade. It's still there too as well, but this is the new book, Rules, Strategies, and the Routines of an Active Stock and Option Trader. And there it is. So let's get into looking at some charts here. And we start out with the 2-year and the 10-year as always. And you can see here we lost some altitude here on the 2-year, dropping below 3% on the week. And even the 10-year dropping even a little bit more, maybe sort of going below this moving average. So 2s and the 10s pulling back. They're still inverted. Still potential for a recession, or that's what the bond market is telling us. And you can see here we really did break out on the transports. You can see this nice breakout. And as quite often happens, you get this pullback after a breakout to check back where it broke out from, and then you get this nice move up. So we've had 3 really nice days on the transports, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a breakout on the weekly, as you can see here. A nice move up, the transports. Always looking at that to confirm the moves, because transports do indicate economic activity in the general economy. The Dow, again, sort of same pattern. We did break out and making a nice move here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on some good earnings, and then breaking out on the weekly as well. And we're right back up into an area which could be some resistance here on the Dow. You can see volume was pretty good last week, and we'll be watching for a continuation move. The Qs, again, not bad volume on Friday. On a weekly, we're breaking out, and on a daily, we're breaking out. On a weekly, we are right at prior resistance, so or at least this trend line down. So, and on a daily, we are sort of looking at, we did kind of break out here through this prior level of which would have been resistance. So we actually did go into the end of the weekend there, into the weekend breaking out from this prior area of resistance or support here and resistance back here. So a bit of breakout move. We'll see if we get a continuation. The momentum indicators are all looking good. And again, I think we're just going to get a continuation with some of these earnings that are going to come in not as bad as expected. Again, the weekly a little bit low on volume on the Qs. Again, probably some summertime trading. Again, 3 nice days back to back on the SPY, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Right into sort of an area here which could be resistance, this 415 level. Again, looking like there could be some resistance here, so we'll be watching that next week. Again, volume a little bit lighter than normal, but probably not unusual for summertime. And again, you can see here the IWM once again breaking out. It is still below this area, which this could have been some resistance area here. This prior support became resistance here, but we did pull back and break out. So next area which we could be looking for is around this 190 level where we topped out here. But we've definitely broken out of this trend. And again, all the momentum indicators are heading up, but they are pretty extended. So let's see what happens. Again, the weekly, we're breaking out on the IWM. And the VIX just keeps bleeding off here. There's just no fear in the market and no fear of a big breakdown. So yeah, it's really, it really just continues to drop off here. The dollar, again, the dollar looks like it's lost some support here. We did have a down week overall, just down by about 2/3%. But again, the EU and some are starting to raise interest rates, which is maybe putting the pressure on the US dollar a little bit after this big run up here. And it actually had a pretty big breakout from this level back in April. And kind of got toppy here, and now we're kind of rolling over here on volume too. So probably the dollar heading lower, which might be good for gold, silver, and also emerging markets. And again, Bitcoin, we are sort of finding a bit of a top here. We were checking at 24,000 before when I looked at it earlier in the day. It's down a little bit. Seems to be having some challenges getting through this prior high here from back in July 20th, which was 24,276. So again, we're having trouble breaking out of that top. And that's the Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin just risk on, risk off. It just seems to be when the markets are risk on, Bitcoin goes higher. Let's take a look at a few stocks I'm watching. This Apple could be an interesting trade. This 165 level seems to be an area where there could be some resistance. And we did put in a bit of an indecision candle. It isn't exactly an indecision candle, but it is definitely showing some topping after massive run up here. So could be a good place to sell some calls. We did have some big volume on Friday, maybe showing some exhaustion in with the buyers. We are pretty overbought in the stochastics, so again, maybe a good place to sell some calls there. We'll look at that next Monday. Affirm, I covered all my short position here when it really dropped down, and now I'm looking for another short here. I still believe fundamentally this is, if we're going into a recession, the people that would be using this are going to be defaulting on their payments, and I really think that this is the kind of company that could have some challenges going forward. So I'm looking for an opportunity to reshort. Certainly if we get back up to that 30 level, I'll be very interested in reshorting it. Amazon, again, refilled this gap. Filled this gap here from back in April. We had the big drop from earnings. And we did fill the gap and pull back. This really is an indecision candle here. You can see big volume on Friday. It could be a good place to sell some upside calls as well. You can buy some calls higher if you want to protect yourself, but again, I'm just looking at possible collecting premium. But the VIX, as you saw, is dropping, which isn't helping, obviously, with the premiums. Baba is just got slammed on Friday. Maybe looking for if we get down around the 85 level, could be a possible entry there, but that's just got slammed. Again, CHBT got a nice pop this morning or this week on the infrastructure, clean energy type bill that they're talking about in the States. So ChargePoint, Sun, or Run, and Plug got a nice move. Again, if the dollar really struggles here, this is the kind of stock that's going to do well. EDC, this is the emerging market. It's a 3 times ETF. There's a Vanguard one that's not quite that aggressive. Ford, I was talking about selling or buying some long-dated options, and I did that this week. And so I bought some long-dated options. They expire in January 2023, and they're up already quite a bit. So I'm happy with that. IBM looks like it's put in a bottom here. Again, just earnings report. Generally speaking, good to wait 3 days to let things settle out. That's 3-day rule. You can see here, this is basically kind of got some bottoming action on that 3rd day, and now it's coming back up. NEO, I'm still short from about $20. It's still trending down. Some car delivery numbers come out, I believe, this week, and I think it's going to be a bit of a disappointment. So I've still got some of that, just looking for that to disappoint. So, and here's the TQQ again, looking at this level. This 30.5 level here is going to be maybe some resistance. And Uber reports this week, so you have to be careful with this, but it does look like it's been putting in a bottoming pattern, so could maybe sell some 22 puts if you're interested in an options trade. And there's some pretty significant support here. I think we're getting close to a point where Uber is actually going to report that they're profitable, so this could surprise to the upside. And even though XLE was up on Friday with all the positive earnings news on Exxon and Chevron and Phillips 66, oil was actually down. So I'd be looking at some of those, the XLE trade to maybe roll over a bit here if oil continues to drop. But you can see here, this is another developed markets Vanguard. That's another one that's kind of interesting. Looks like it's breaking out as well. And XLE up a lot on, as I said, on these earnings reports. But again, USO or the oil fund going the other way. So watch for that on Monday, and after this earnings report, where all the oil companies reported great earnings, this $80 level, if we start heading lower on the energy, on the USO, the actual oil, then that'll be a top there. And that's about it. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. August 1st. Look ahead for the week. Here you've got all the indexes really broke out from some resistance levels this week, as I've been talking about. But you can see here I've sort of put up some new resistance and support levels. I won't go through the numbers, but you can see them there. As far as economic events go, we do have the PMI on Monday. We've got some mortgage application data on Wednesday and average hourly earnings. So we'll get a read on how inflation is faring in the earnings front. That's always something that drives inflation. So a couple of things, but nothing like last week. And as far as earnings, we've got a bunch of earnings on deck. Again, we're in the middle of earnings season, so a whole bunch of interesting stocks coming up this week that will make for interesting plays after probably their earnings. So that's it, everybody. I hope you had a good weekend, and yeah, we'll be starting out again Monday morning, 8 o'clock in the room, engineering the markets with Jared, and then pre-market show with Carlos, and of course trading the market open at 9:30 with our members. So hopefully we'll see you there, and have a great rest of the weekend. Bye for now.